This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable other excellent people just like you to be able to locate this podcast. And please pass the word on to your friends. One of the things that I want to speak to you about today is we've already talked about the fact that things don't go your way. I remember laying out some wonderful plans for a particular year, and then, as you would all know, because we've all lived through it, the entirety of the year was upset through medical history, through the culture, through politics. It just seemed like everything got derailed, and our best laid plans kind of went by the wayside. Now, during midst of all of that, I tried to find more positive outworkings of things to do, and it all worked out fairly well. But many of the large items that we were working on, we had to lay aside because survival and getting through and moving in another direction really took up the entirety of our time. And this would not only be true in our work life, my friends, this was true in our home life. Nearly every area of finances, everything needed some special attention. And one of the outcroppings that has come out of all of those kinds of things is discouragement, wondering how do we get unstuck, how do we move forward from where we are. And discouragement is not a abnormal friend to those in leadership. It comes to us. A lot of times it just simply comes because we've tried our best, we've laid it all out, and it just didn't work out. And a lot of times it has to come from the fact that when we go to plan B or C, we sometimes feel that we're failures. But I'm here to tell you that there are oftentimes in leadership, whether it's at home, at work, at church, wherever it may be, just getting through a difficult period of time is a great win. So as we're seeking to get back on track and try to shake the dust off, shake the blues out of our system, and it's all right. Discouragement is as contagious as the flu. And right now, I'm more concerned about the pandemic of discouragement. But you have to realize discouragement, failure, setbacks, these really are the stepping stones that you and I are going to use to move into a preferable future. If there were no discouragements, if there were no what we think are failed attempts, if things went a different direction than we ever anticipated, these are often the stepping stones, the building blocks, if you were, to a preferable future. And oftentimes you will discover, especially if you're younger and you're just going through a pretty big cataclysmic time and you're wondering if you're going to survive, you'll survive. And you'll find that from these times that you today view as a failure, you will develop some real leadership muscles. You'll find ways to set goals and be able to continue to tweak them and adjust them. You will find that productivity can increase as you will have to find and will find new and more effective and efficient ways of developing things. So remember, out of all of this that's happened, and you can take an inventory of all that's transpired and all that we didn't like and all of the best laid plans that were done away with, that you can develop success out of all of these. And regardless of how many things were out of our control, there are some things that are in your control. There are many things that are beyond our control. We can't help who our parents were. What's out of our control is how other people treat us, how other people respond to us, how other people act, how the boss runs things, how the people down the street do things, what the politicians do, what the bankers do. We remain somewhat powerless to change those things, but do not buy into the idea that you have no power nor more importantly, that you do not have an ability to control. There are lots of important things that you and I have control over. We have control over attitude. Now, oftentimes we allow our friends, our family, and the circumstances that we find ourselves in to dictate what kind of an attitude we're going to take. But go take a good look in the mirror, and whatever attitude you possess today, it's because you have taken the steps, you have made it a habit, and you've decided to have that attitude. Quit blaming anyone else. You have total control over your work ethic. You have control if you're going to get out of bed in the morning, go to work, do the things that you're supposed to be doing. You have control over how you treat your family, how you react. You may not have or may have very little control over how they reciprocate or what they do, but you have control. You have control over how you're going to spend your free time, how you're going to spend your money. I mean, I understand there are obligations and debts, and some of us, through some very poor choices, all of us have gotten ourselves into deep situations that, yes, there really wasn't anything we could do today but pay it off, do better, whatever. But you have total control over taking charge of your life right now, of your attitude, and of what you're going to do. Just make up your mind that you're going to quit playing the victim card and that you're going to start doing things that need to happen. What I have found when I'm in one of these kinds of situations that many of us find ourselves in today, where we're just kind of digging out of a hole, and if you're not in that situation or circumstance today, trust me, my friends, you will be there someday. It happens to everyone. At that point, just look for some small, quick wins to get your equilibrium back. For instance, if you need to start getting up early, if you need to start working on your health, if you need to start working on relationships, then find the steps and the incremental actions that you can take. For you've heard me talk about it over and over, and I learned it from Jeff Olson in The Slight Edge, and Darren Hardy in The Compound Effect, and even James Clear in Atomic Habits, and that is, it's not necessarily the biggest and most grandiose plans that are going to change things. It's when I get consistent and incremental and make sure that I take this small step and I do it regularly and I do it consistently. That leverage of time and small action have an outsized influence, and those will be the things that make it work for you. Now, what I also need to say to you is, a lot of times, because I have worked with people, little things like weeding a garden, mowing the lawn, have encouraged me, because when you get done mowing the lawn and you look back, you can actually see that you were able to accomplish something. That is not always true when you're working with people. If nothing else, sit down and pay the bills and make sure that next month's bills are automatically ready to go out. I know it's a small thing, but it's a win. They have to be paid. And you'll begin to change your attitude and the way you look at things when you realize, I am taking control of the things in my life, and they are making a difference. It's also at times like this that you just need to find a friend, a mentor, a colleague, anyone to just kind of talk about, and not talk about, but talk with. And what you'll find is what you are experiencing is not uncommon. You're not the only one who has gone through a tough and difficult time. Other people have. Whether they're going through it actually right now, they will have enough experience of when they have gone through it. And I don't mean that misery loves company and that's how you'll be encouraged, but you'll be encouraged to see that regardless of what people go through, if they put their head down, they work, they continually, step by step, try to make corrections, things will happen. Maybe one of the best things you could do today is to reach out to a confidant, a mentor, a colleague, a friend. If you don't have an accountability partner, it may very well be a good time to start that. I often find that when we're in the midst of a really tough time, one of the best things you can do is rest, and especially if you've been following some of my insistences on getting up early and developing a really positive morning routine, not just something to do for doing's sake, but something that is actually moving you forward toward goal achievement or towards some things that you really need to be doing to get your day started correctly. If you do that, you could be very tired because if you haven't started going to bed a little earlier, it leads to exhaustion. Plus, going through problems at work, at home, wherever, has a tendency to just bring us down and wear us down. Maybe one of the best things you could do is to take a 20 or 30-minute power nap in the afternoon if you're in a position to do that. Not everyone is. It may just be that you need to get away with your spouse or significant other, your family, a friend, and just goof off for a while. Just take a day of relaxation, rest, recreation, as we call it, recreation, and just sort of change the trajectory of how you're feeling and doing. The world may look better if you have some kind of rest. I've mentioned it on podcast on more than one occasion. One of the greatest side effects of going to the gym and exercising, besides the physical that it does, is the fact that it changes my attitude. It helps my mindset and my attitude. It clears my thinking, and it causes me to get out of my usual way of doing and thinking. One of the things you're going to have to make up your mind, if you are going to be sidetracked every time something doesn't go your way, you will be on the sidetrack nearly all of the time. You just have to make a pre-commitment. I may do a podcast in the future days about pre-committing. For we get into grave difficulty if we wait until we're in the heat of the battle or the midst of the fire or the midst of a very trying time and then try to decide what we're going to do. There are some predetermined decisions we need to make. We need to nail them down, and we need to say, this is what I intend to do, and I'm not going to change. And near the top of that list, if not at the very top of that list, my leadership friends, is you just need to decide that I'm going to refuse to quit. I don't care what's happening in your life right now. It's too soon to stop. It's too soon to quit. Keep going. But you can't make that decision very easily when you're in the midst of the battle. You have to predetermine, decide ahead of time, I am going to refuse to quit. I will not quit. Just remember, regardless of what you're going through, you really are better than you think you are. You are stronger than you think you are. You may feel that you have, in your mind, no strength left. You have no friends. You have no resources. There's no point in going on. I should just give up. But I want you to know you are stronger and better than you think you are today. You are always better than you are when you're discouraged. Things are never as bleak as they seem when everything is piling on us and we see no way out, no help available, not enough resources to get through this. The embarrassment stings, and we wonder we will never, ever get through this. A lot of it just comes down to, my friends, from a perspective. One of the great reasons to read biographies of great historical figures, business leaders, spiritual leaders, is the fact that we only have seen their highlights. When you take a history class, regardless of who the historical figure is, you might hear about one or two of their setbacks, but we know the end of the story and how they persevered and how they overcame. And we begin to think that somehow they are superhuman and they didn't really have the kinds of troubles that you and I have. And the fact is, it kind of glosses over the setbacks, the discouragements, and we just see them going from one victory to another, and it, rather than encouraging us, it kind of discourages us. That's why you ought to read those biographies and make note that many folks, most leaders, have overcome unbelievable obstacles to get where they are today. They had more setbacks than you can imagine, but they used them as stepping stones and stair steps to move higher, to move farther, to accomplish more, to do more than they ever would have done. Stay the course, my friend. Keep believing. I know you're tired. I know some of you may be discouraged and you're tempted to be frustrated, but don't give up on your life. Do not give up on your future, and please do not give up on your dream. I understand that leadership can be a very lonely, lonely place, and at times a very lonely job. You feel like you're all alone. But remember, you have to take action. And don't just think that means big, bold action. Sometimes just getting up, putting one foot in front of the other, and keep moving forward is one of the greatest things you can do today. If you're discouraged, find some good literature to read, find someone to talk to. We all carry responsibility. It gets very, very heavy, but you are really making a difference. You matter. What you do matters. Don't ever, ever forget about it. So, my friend, don't be discouraged today. Be a leader who can overcome discouragement. And how do you overcome discouragement? By predetermining, making up your mind. There are certain things that you control, and you're not going to give control of them to everyone else. And just keep moving forward. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating and a brief written review? It will enable other excellent people just like you to be able to locate this podcast. Remember, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.